crazy. I hope you're prepared for this. I've pressed the select button. Now we're on these lower labels. We're going to hear the fabulous and ideal bossa nova. Let's get a tempo that's reasonable. Okay, here we go. You ready? I think that's awesome. And for those of us who actually are used to, organ drums that don't sound like drums, but sound like analog hilarity, which this does, even though I'm pretty sure it's not analog, which makes me wonder why they would make them sound like analog when they had digital opportunities, but who knows? Anyway, this is hilarious and great. I don't know if we need to listen to it slow, but we're going to. All of a sudden, I'm reminded of Phil Collins. That's a joke to my Gen X homies. Okay, let's hear this really ridiculously fast, which is going to be, I predict, unusable, but let's see. I was wrong. That's actually the best version of it right there. You could do some cool stuff with that. Okay, now let's try the fill-in, which undoubtedly will blow us away. Oh, we got some syncopated quote toms, unquote. Okay, well, now you're sad. Let's move on to the samba. Okay, so a lot of us are familiar with the bossa nova from my generation, but even in my generation, the samba is a little more mysterious. And for those of you who are younger than me, none of these words mean anything. Okay, so let's find some sort of mid-range area, and we will engage the samba. That's very animated. Let's hear it slowly. I kind of like it better at this speed. That's just me. You don't have to love what I love. You don't have to follow my preferences. You're free to do what you like. Okay, let's listen to it a lot faster. Maybe 1,000,000 times faster. Not 1,000,000 times. Here we go. Let's try it slower than that, shall we? Okay, unusable. Well, I don't want to be judgmental, but that just sounds like someone is using a ridiculous digital simulation of an analog drum pattern at a speed that's unusable by any normal person. But maybe you'll be the one to use that, take it, and make it into something amazing. I look forward to finding that out. Let's listen to the fill-in. They've gone understated with the samba fill-in. Okay, the Beguine, Beguine. I know that one song that the Beatles covered. I'm just not authorized for. I'm a synth guy, so this is, we're in difficult territory for me. In any case, let's hear it. Okay, so I recognize that beat. That's cool. I feel like if we slow this down too far, it's going to be scary. We've got the claves in full force. Okay, let's go faster. Watch this. Not sure how you'd use this, but at least it's usable. Okay, but now let's get serious and use the fill-in. Are you ready? That might be my favorite fill-in thus far. It's kind of saucy. Tango. Tango, you know, that perennial favorite that every instrument should really touch on tango because of its universal popularity over the many decades. Okay, so here's tango. This should be worth some L's. Okay, here we go. Super. Okay. How about a slow version of tango? How's that working for you? Good? Okay. Now let's try something ridiculously fast and probably useless. Here we go. Isn't there a punk style that's this? I feel like you could make a punk style that's this. Here we go for the fill-in of the fabulous tango. Okay, I'm going to do that again. They went all into triplets with this. Like, they went crazy. They're like, you know what? When we do the tango fill-in, it's going to be mad. And people are going to be like, yeah! They're going to jump to their feet and cheer while they're playing their Casio for a group of dancing people that are willing to do a tango. I think that's what they were thinking. Let's hear it again. That's pretty fantastic. Let's head on to Waltz. You know, the most useful dance setting for this instrument. When you're out, you've purchased this for its vintage status, and you're going to be using it in live performance, maybe recording, but probably live performance. And you really want to touch on the waltz, which is just so important in today's culture. Okay, so here's the waltz. There's an Elliott Smith song you could do to this. Okay, that's it. Let's hear it slowly. Okay, let's stop hearing it slowly and let us now hear it quickly. Wow, isn't there an Irish style that would employ this? I don't know. But yeah, that's what's happening with that. I gotta say, I don't think the waltz is really working for us. Maybe I'm wrong. You can criticize me if I'm wrong, but let us now listen to. That seems too. Now we're gonna play the fill-in. I hope you're ready. I think they're just calling it in on the Waltz fill-in. My biggest criticism of the Casiotone 405 is they really called it in on the Waltz fill-in. You can quote me on that. Okay, we're now finally to slow rock. It's time for us to slowly rock. They don't have a yacht rock setting because yacht rock is a term that wouldn't happen for another 40 years. Okay, so let's have a listen to what Casio thought was a slow rock beat in the early 80s. Are you ready? Here we go. Wait, have I got this? I'm sorry. Slow rock was a 6/8 beat. Is that how things work? You know, I have a music degree and I feel like this is something I missed out on. Okay, well, maybe Casio knew more than I do. Here we go. Slow rock is a 6/8 beat. That's what it sounds like. Let's listen to the slow version of the slow rock setting. I was already on the slow version of that. The middle version can't be right. This is not slow rock. I feel like the mid setting should be the ideal slow rock. If you're going to label a tempo, I feel like things are going to be really weird when we get up to fast. I think there's an opportunity to create a new genre to this beat. This doesn't really exist as a beat, so if you want to take this and run with it, create your new genre. One of the elements of this new genre I've created is that it needs to create a weird 6/8 beat that was described by Casio in 1982 as a slow rock beat, even though it wasn't slow, and also was in 6/8, which, while rock certainly goes in that direction, it's not definitive of a rock beat. Yeah, you could do that. Okay, this is perfect. I'm sorry to get so academic. Okay, let's go. Where are we at here? This is fine. This is slow rock, according to Casio in 82. Let's hear the fill-in. That's pretty cute. Wow. Okay, well, weirdly, we've come to the end of this demonstration of the basic beats. Of course, we're going to have to go through the excitement of the accompaniment variation elements. But at least at this point, you know what the beats were like. What sort of beats you're working with when you have purchased this device to completely replace your drummer because they're inadequate, or your drum machine because it's trite and out of date. You can certainly jump on this poor digital recreation of analog drum sounds and sort of just rule the market. So, here's what you're looking at. I'm glad I can help you by providing these amazing drum sounds found in the rhythm accompaniment in the Casio Casiotone 405.